The winning blueprint presents.
In the lab room.
Welcome. You are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. It is a wonderful, wonderful Friday afternoon. Yes, it is. And last night we had a beautiful football game. For many of you, it was probably unwatchable because you don't like to see a lot of defense. You don't like to see physical play. You don't like to see chippiness. You don't like to see two divisional opponents go at it with first place on the line. That wasn't your style of football. That's not your style of game that you like to watch. You want to see it be 38-35, a shootout coming down to the last second of the game where someone's kicking a game-winning field goal where no defense was played. That's not my type of football. Give me what was played last night. Give me that every time. I'll take it. I will take it every single time. No problems, no questions asked. That's football at its heart right there. Defense, and more defense. Sprinkle in some run game, a couple of timely passes, and you get yourself a win. That was some good football last night. Had me from start to finish. A lot of chippiness, a lot of just animosity towards one another because these are two teams in the same division. Again, family business. They know each other. They've seen each other before. This isn't the first time they've played each other. Won't be the last. And first place was on the line. And they know, these two teams know, that in order to win this division, they're going to have to go through one another. If Seattle wants to win this division, they're going to have to pry it from the cold, defeated hands of the San Francisco 49ers. They know the 49ers aren't going to hand them this division. They know they're going to have to work for it. They want this division, they're going to have to take it from the San Francisco 49ers. Nothing is going to be given to them. That was evident last night in that football game. They knew what was at stake. You saw the sense of urgency. You saw it in that football game. It was there. Both teams wanted to win that football game desperately. You couldn't tell it was only week 7 of the National Football League. You couldn't tell that was what week it was. It looked like a week 17 matchup. The crowd was into it. These two teams were going at it. And so it was a lot at stake last night. First place was on the line, and you knew it. And again, San Francisco could not afford to lose that football game. They knew that. The Seahawks knew they had an opportunity to steal one. They tried. They came up short. You go back to the drawing board. They have to see each other again. They're going to come back, and they're going to try to get the next one. Well, forget about the next one for now. Let's talk about this one. Let's talk about how this game unfolded and how the San Francisco 49ers were able to take control of this game, ultimately win it, and now have control of first place in the NFC West division. Let's talk about the football game that happened last night. I thought in the first quarter, to start the game, the San Francisco 49ers came out, and they fooled me. I thought that they were going to run the ball with Frank Gore a lot more early in this football game. A lot of short throws for Alex Smith, like they always do. Run the football, short passing game for Alex Smith, nothing too risque, because you don't want to turn the football over. Drive the ball down the field via the run game and the short passing game and see if you can eke out a field goal. That's what I thought they were going to try to come out and do because you knew this was going to be a defensive struggle. There weren't going to be a lot of touchdowns scored in this game, and so points were going to be at a premium. So they needed to value every possession as if it was their last. So I thought they were going to come out and be a lot more methodical in their approach, as the 49ers usually are. I called their offense deliberate, because they don't usually take shots down the field. They usually don't push the ball down the field. If they do, it's to Vernon Davis on a corner route, on a wheel route. They normally don't go to guys who can make plays like a Randy Moss, like a Mario Manningham, who was out in this football game. They don't go up top to the guys that probably can make it happen. They like to keep it nice and short, and I thought that's what they were going to do. I was wrong. They came out in this football game. They tried to establish Frank Gore early. They ran it a little bit, but they really used that run to try to go up top. And I didn't agree with that. I didn't agree with that move at all because I thought what you were doing there was opening up Alex Smith to make mistakes. And you know, if he makes mistakes early, mentally it's going to get into his head that I'm not getting it done. He's going to start pressing. Then you could have a problem on your hands because you don't want to come out and have his psyche damaged in the first quarter on the first drive. Because you could be in for a long ball game after that if he comes out, makes a mistake, and mentally does not get over it in time to rebound and help this team win. So I thought that was a mistake. However, those deep balls were there. Guys were running free, guys were open, and Alex Smith just flat out missed. He took about 2 or 3 shots early on in this football game, and they were there. I didn't agree with them taking the shots per se, but they were there. They were there to be had. And we said that the Seattle Seahawks, probably the strongest position on their defense is their secondary. Well, they went right after this secondary. And they had opportunities, but Alex Smith, as usual, couldn't connect with them. That's not his strong suit, going down the field, pushing the ball down the field. That's not his strong suit. So they missed on those opportunities. And I said in the preview that whoever made the least amount of mistakes on offense and who made the most plays was going to win this game. And so the 49ers, while they didn't make a mistake, they left some plays out on the field. And so that could have been something that could come back to haunt them in this football game moving forward. Equally as bad was the Seattle Seahawks on their first couple of drives. They moved the football. They moved it well. And I thought that they came out with the game plan that they always do. Run the football with Marshawn Lynch. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Marshawn Lynch is their workhorse. He is their bell cow. And he was in full effect last night. Running the football, catching it out of the backfield, making people pay at the end of his runs, punishing opponents as he usually does. That's what Marshawn Lynch does. He's a bruiser who goes downhill. He's a north and south runner, doesn't waste motions, and gets it done. And that's what he was doing early in this football game, helping the Seahawks get on the board with field goals. However, these field goals could have been, at least one of them for sure, could have been a touchdown. Robert Turbin, I thought this was the biggest play of the game, or biggest non-play of the game. Russell Wilson double clutches on a throw, pulls it back, and it was awkward looking. However, very effective. He pulls it back down and then lets it go about 30 yards down the field to a streaking running back, rookie running back, Robert Turbin, down the sideline, who has a chance to corral it, run it down the sideline, and possibly get in the end zone. We're talking about the ball hit his hands of probably around the 12-yard line. He catches that. There's a defender on the side of him, but I don't know if that defender is going to be able to knock him out of bounds before he's able to extend and dive and get to the pylon and score a touchdown. But none of that mattered because he didn't catch the football. Russell Wilson couldn't have breastfed him any better. He couldn't have came up and handed the football to him any better. He put it right in the old bread basket and he dropped it. But that's a running back for you. That's a rookie running back for you. A guy who's not used to handling passes out of the backfield, let alone 30, 40 yards down the field out of the backfield. And so he dropped the football, and this was a critical drop because if they get 7 on that possession, that sets the tone in the football game. Again, I've already said points were going to be at a premium in this football game. So you get 7, that's large. And again, the 49ers are not a team that likes to come from behind, especially if you're putting up touchdowns. So that was a critical drop. They end up getting a field goal on that possession. But that drop, it was very ominous because it was a sign of things to come for this Seattle Seahawks team. It's something that really plagued them all night. The dropsies. They couldn't hold on to the football. Critical situations, they had way too many drops in this football game. Russell Wilson did his job for the most part. His receivers, tight ends, backs, all out of the backfield, everyone that he threw the football to, they let him down on this night. A lot of drop passes by the Seattle Seahawks in critical situations. We're not talking about a dump off in the flats and it's 3rd and 11 and they just dropped the football. That happened too. that happened as well. Marshawn Lynch was definitely an offender as well. He was not immune to the dropsies. He dropped the football too, but we move on to the second quarter, and one of the first plays of the second quarter was a drop by the Seattle Seahawks. Evan Moore, the 6'5", 6'6" tight end, who can really run, he can move, got free in the secondary, got off the press coverage, and by the cornerback, beat him down the sideline, and he was open. And again, Russell Wilson couldn't have thrown a better. You can't throw a better football than Russell Wilson threw on this play. I mean, literally. When I say he couldn't have walked up and handed it to him any better, I literally mean it hit him square in his hands. Like this. Literally, he didn't even have to extend for it. It was right here. And he found a way to drop the football. I mean, it was a beautiful throw. And it was right on a rope, down the sideline, on the line, just the way it had to be to beat that coverage. And if he catches that, we're talking about a 25, 30, maybe 35-yard gain on that play. Who knows? You break a tackle, maybe he goes down the sideline for a touchdown. We don't know. And we'll never know because he dropped the football. So the Seahawks missed out on another opportunity to make something happen early in this football game. And again, when you're playing a game of this caliber, with this much at stake, you can't afford the mistakes that the Seahawks made in this football game. You can't afford to be dropping the football. It almost seemed as if this moment was a little bit too big for the Seahawks at times. And again, this is a young football team who has not experienced success to this point under head coach Pete Carroll. And so I can understand a little bit of the anxiousness, a little bit of the nervousness, but you got to shake free of that. And you got to make plays. The lights are on. They're bright. You're the only show in town. It's Thursday night football. There's nothing else for anyone else to be watching. You got a couple of people tuning into the baseball game. Football's king. You're on. You got to get it done. And a lot of these Seahawk receivers, tight ends, running backs did not get it done last night. So that was another big drop, another play that was left on the field by the Seahawks, another missed opportunity. And again, you're on the road. You're not home. You don't get these opportunities to come back around. Again, you're on the road. So you have to take advantage of every opportunity you get because chances are you won't get another opportunity like the one that you just squandered. Take advantage of opportunities when they come your way. I talked about that in the preview. They did not do that. So we continue on. And watching this game earlier, I noted this is going to be a chippy game. And it was very chippy. From the outset, it was chippy. Guys were jawing at each other, barking. I mean, you know it's a chippy football game when offensive and defensive linemen start talking trash. Because a lot of times, the offensive linemen don't get involved with a lot of trash talking. You have to really, really piss an offensive lineman off for him to start engaging in a lot of trash talk. There's not a lot of jawing that goes on because they're spent. There's a lot of energy being used on that offensive line, in the defensive line, in the trenches. A lot of energy being expended just to block, just to do your job. So really, the trash talk, there's not a lot of room for that. But even the linemen were talking trash. I mean, this was a physical game, and everyone was involved in the trash talking. I mean, after a good, solid, hard tackle, guys were getting up, and they were mad. At what? I don't know. But that's the beauty of a game like this. When it's two divisional rivals squaring off, family business is taking place. You know the two teams really don't like each other that much. That's the beauty of games like this. And so the referees had to take control because it's a lot of face-to-face, helmet-to-helmet action going on. A lot of guys jawing, a lot of pushing and shoving after the whistle. As long as they don't get out of control with it, there's not punches being thrown. There's not a whole bunch of brouhahas and a lot of little skirmishes popping up everywhere. I'm fine with it. I like it. It adds another element to the game. When it gets out of control, when guys start throwing punches, helmets start coming off and getting ripped off and thrown, then I have a problem. Guys are getting stepped on. That's when I have a problem. That's when it needs to be reined in. Guys need to be penalized, and we need to clean it up. But when it's just chippy, guys going back and forth, talking and jawing and, letting them know, yeah, it's going to be a long night. I'm going to be here. You better do better than that. I'm going to be in the backfield all night if you can't block me. I like that. I like the jawing. It makes for better theater. It makes for a better watch. So there was a lot of that going on, and I noted that early in this football game. It was going to be like that all game long. All right, I want to go away from the game for a second, the actual in-game play, and just want to talk about a couple of things I noted. I like to call it my Thursday night quirks. And these have absolutely zero to do with the play on the field, per se, but it was just things that I noted that I just felt like I needed to say. And the first thing is, I love Brad Nessler and Mike Mayock. These guys are excellent. I think they work well together, and I just love Brad Nessler. You probably know him from college football. He does a great job there. He's doing a great job. The NFL Network finally got it right because for years, the first 2 or 3 years of their telecast, I thought they just put guys in the booth and were just throwing together mixed match parts, and it didn't mesh well at all. And so their broadcast booth was annoying at times. And so now I feel like it's great chemistry. I love Mike Mayock. For those of you who have a problem with his speech impediment, his lisp, get over it, okay? He does a great job breaking down. This man is an X and O's wizard. This is all he does. He sleeps, eats, and regurgitates football. That's all he does. So for you out there that have a problem with Mike Mayock, put a sock in it. Zip it up. You don't like it? Put your TV on mute. You don't want to watch? Turn the TV. But Mike Mayock is excellent. You got a problem with that? Then you have a problem with great analysis of football. You don't get it. Mike Mayock is excellent. I love Mike Mayock. I can watch Mike Mayock and listen to him talk all day about football, about guys, about what they're doing, what they're not doing, about their measurables. I can listen to him talk about college players coming into the NFL, about the draft, combine, and all that stuff. I could listen to him talk about the game all day. Mike Mayock is one of my favorite guys on television right now. Love Mike Mayock. Brad Nessler is a great compliment to Mike Mayock. He's a great play-by-play guy. I love Brad Nessler as well. I love this team. Also, there wasn't a lot of pink being worn last night. That was strange. In a lot of these games, a lot of guys wearing all pink cleats with half pink on them, half black or whatever, socks that are pink, wristbands, gloves, sleeves, pink. There's pink, gloves, something is pink. It wasn't a lot of pink going on last night. These were two tough and rugged teams who weren't feeling the pink vibe last night. I don't know what was going on. It almost looked like October was over in this game. If you weren't paying attention to something as small as that, good for you. I noticed little small nuances like that. And it wasn't a lot of pink going on. I think I counted maybe 2 players wearing pink, and one of them was Ted Ginn Jr. He had some pink on his socks. Other than that, man, it wasn't a lot of pink to be found. It wasn't a lot of pink to be had out there on the football field last night. That was strange. I don't have a problem with it, but it was just strange. All right, and then the last thing was, what's up with number 83, DeMarcus Dobbs, on the defensive line for the San Francisco 49ers, playing DN with the number 83 on? I didn't think you could wear the number 83 on the defensive line. What's up with that? I need answers on that one. That one kind of threw me for a loop. Since when is it okay to wear 80-something on the defensive line? Thought those were reserved for receivers and tight ends. I need some clarification on that, because normally you can't just get on the field. And look, I understand if you have an injury and that guy is your emergency dude on the depth chart. I get it. But I'm not used to seeing that. That was kind of a shock to me. My eyes were like, hey, wait a minute. Did I just see AJ? I had to rewind it back just to make sure I wasn't making a mistake. To make sure that guy actually had the number 83 on, and he did. Total mind blow. And was I the only one who noticed that? Maybe I was. I don't know. Back to the game. So the Seahawks were running the football effectively. And I thought they did a good job of keeping the San Francisco 49ers honest. They did not put a lot of pressure on their rookie quarterback, Russell Wilson. By running the football with Marshawn Lynch, which is their staple, which is what they like to do, which is what going into the game they're going to do. I thought by doing that and being successful at it, it really helped make the game easier for Russell Wilson. So at the half, the score was 6-3. Seahawks were up, and they could have been up by more. Patrick Willis made an excellent play on what I thought was a dangerous pass by Russell Wilson in the end zone in double coverage. to Braylon Edwards. But upon further review, at second glance, after they showed the replay, it wasn't that bad of a throw. Braylon Edwards actually had both hands on the football, almost corralled it and brought it in. Had Patrick Willis not been underneath on that route, because there was a cornerback over the top of Braylon Edwards, and he had already basically shielded him off with his body. But Patrick Willis was underneath the route, and luckily for the San Francisco 49ers, Patrick Willis was under that route, because if he was not, Braylon Edwards was going to come down with that football. But luckily enough for them, Patrick Willis was there underneath the route, knocked it free, jarred the ball loose, forced the Seattle Seahawks to have to kick a field goal. So they weren't able to take advantage of being in the red zone. And coming into this game, the Seahawks have been one of the most efficient teams in the red zone. They score touchdowns when they get in the red zone. A lot of that has to do with the fact that they have Marshawn Lynch. He's a tough guy to stop in the red zone. But they weren't able to get it done this time, had to settle for another Hauska field goal, made it 6-3, and they went to half with that score. Like I said, they came out in the second half, did a lot of what they did in the first half, ran the football. Thought they were a little bit too conservative on that first possession of the third quarter. That running game had been working, and it was working, continuing to work. But, you know, on 3rd and 3, I really don't like when teams run the football on 3rd and 3. I think it's a little bit too far to be trying to run the football. If you catch a team off guard, if you catch a team in a pass defense, and their look is screaming, I'm trying to stop the pass, and you hit them with a draw on 3rd and 3, I'm all for that. But to just line up and say, I'm running the football, to basically tell your opponent on 3rd and 3, I'm running the football, stop me. That's a little bullish. Now, if you have it like that, if you can do that and get away with it, more power to you. But again, this is the San Francisco 49ers we're talking about. And although the Seahawks were having success running the football, this is still the San Francisco 49ers. Show a little bit of respect. They stopped the run. Last week they gave up 100 or over 100 to the Giants. But that's an anomaly. That doesn't happen often. You know that. Show some respect. You didn't. They stopped you on that 3rd down. Stopped you short of the first. You had to punt. And I thought that was an unnecessary punt. It was 3rd and 3. That's 3rd and short. That's very manageable. That's something that with the easy slant, an out, a hitch, whatever, you can pick that up. No need to try to be bullish, to try and exert your dominance over them on the run game and run it on 3rd and 3 and come up short and have to punt. I didn't like that call. And it was a drive that was starting to move. You were right around midfield and that happened. I didn't like the play call. Thought it was one of those drives that could have been extended if you would have called a different play, a pass play. And drives like those are the ones that help you lose ball games, especially in a game that's going to be tightly contested like this one. 2 more first downs, we're talking about possibly kicking another field goal. And again, in this game, field goals matter. So I didn't like that call. They had to punt. 49ers get the football. And it was textbook for 49ers on that second half first drive. They went right down the field, and it was just like I thought they were going to start the game. A lot of Frank Gore, and more Frank Gore. You tired of Frank Gore? Take some more Frank Gore. You had enough Frank Gore? I'll sprinkle in a little Kendall Hunter. Bring some more Frank Gore back, and then dump off a few short passes in the process. All of this adds up to the ball being matriculated down the field, and the 49ers eventually getting in the end zone for the first touchdown of the night, and the 49ers taking a 10-6 lead in the football game. And so now the 49ers have all the momentum in the world. The crowd is into it. Seahawks need to respond. And I thought this was a very critical moment in the football game, because if the Seahawks were to go 3 and out here, oh no, you're starting to get into that danger zone. Now you start to get in a situation where now the 49ers are a field goal or a touchdown away from really putting this thing out of reach. A field goal, not so much, because it's still a 1-score game. But a touchdown, now you're pretty much in the danger zone now, because 17 points in this football game, that's a lot. I was saying that 17-20 was going to win this game. Whoever made it to 17 or 20 first was going to win this game. Turns out neither team made it there, but didn't matter. I said if any team got there, they were going to win the football game. Whoever got there first. So the Seahawks get the football, and Russell Wilson makes the first mistake of the game. He throws an interception in the end zone. It was like a punt almost, but the only difference between this and a punt is that a punt doesn't get the crowd involved. They don't get excited to see a fair catch. When you throw an interception, the crowd is pumped about that. Even if it's like a punt, even if that interception is 45 yards down the field and it isn't returned, they run out of bounds, which happened on this interception. Doesn't matter. It's a turnover. The crowd is excited about it. It's energy being fueled to that team, and you're helping the momentum build. And I thought that was a mistake that he didn't have to make. And again, the team who made the least amount of mistakes and the least critical mistakes was going to win this football game. So I thought that was a big mistake in this football game. It was the first. Neither team had turned the ball over up until that point. 49ers take that and drive it all the way down the field. And that's what I'm talking about. Although it was like a punt because the 49ers got this ball deep in their own territory off this interception, it still was a big momentum boost for the 49ers. It just kept the momentum from that touchdown rolling. It just kept it going. So it was beginning to build even more. So they just took that momentum and rode that wave all the way down the field. Got in the red zone, got within striking distance, and then Alex Smith made the next mistake. And this one was even bigger than Russell Wilson's because it took points off the board. They were about at the 7-yard line, at the 6-yard line, somewhere in that proximity. He rolls out. There's nothing there. And really, Randy Moss was wide open in the back of the end zone. He didn't see him until late, tried to force it late, and he paid. Brandon Browner picked him off, and just like that, the 49ers go from probably getting 3 on a possession, maybe 7, to getting absolutely nothing on a possession. And that really was damaging because that could have put the game out of reach. Had they got 7, game was over. That would have made it 17-6. They get a field goal. Now the Seahawks have to score a touchdown to tie it up. See, a touchdown still beats you with those points coming off the board. Touchdown only ties you if they were to get it. And so that was a big mistake. Critical error by Alex Smith. But it was no worries. That defense had his back. Did not allow the Seahawks to even approach midfield again in this football game. Really put the clamps down on Russell Wilson and that group. And that's what they did. They ran the football in the second half with Frank Gore. He was an absolute workhorse for the San Francisco 49ers, as he always is. He was the difference in this football game. Frank Gore was catching it out of the backfield. He was running it out of the backfield. He was doing it all. He was the all-purpose man for the San Francisco 49ers in this game. Alex Smith, his usual self, checking it down, keeping it short, was finding Frank Gore over and over again. And the Seahawks were giving it to him. So he was taking it, and they was paying dividends. Told you, don't force it in this game. This wasn't a game to force the issue. If you need to check it down, check it down. And that's what Alex Smith did, and it proved to be the difference in this game. You not making a critical error trying to do something to help your team win, but in essence, being a hindrance to them. Instead, taking what's there. They want to give you the check down. They want to play deep. Leave the underneath stuff open. Take it. That's what Alex Smith did. They ended up scoring points off of it, and they won the football game, 13-6. You know, the end of the game ended kind of weird, but I agree with his logic there. Why take a chance of having them kick it to me when all I need to do is get the football back and take a knee? For those of you who don't know what I'm referring to, the 49ers had the Seahawks pinned deep in their own territory. When I say deep, I'm talking about at their own 3-yard line. And really, this was their last gasp. This was their last hope. They were out of timeouts at this point. Really could not stop the clock. They needed to be able to drive the football the length of the field to tie the game. They were down by a touchdown, 6-13. So they needed to drive the length of the field and get in the end zone. It was 4th and long. 4th and 17 to be exact. And Russell Wilson throws a 16.5-yard pass. He gets stopped short of the first down. However, there's a flag on the play. Penalty for chop block, which I thought was a terrible call. Nonetheless, penalty in the end zone means it's a safety if the penalty is on the offense, which it was. So the 49ers would be awarded 2 points and a free kick, which means they get the football. At this juncture in the game, already being up 7. 2 more points makes it a 9-point lead, which makes it a 2-score game, which means you win. However, they still have to kick to you. Anything can happen. You could fumble. They could kick it up straight in the air because when you have a free kick opportunity, you can choose to punt it or you can choose to kick it off. And you never know what could happen. He didn't want to take that chance of having something stupid happen when if I get the stop on 4th down, which I did because he was a half yard short, I get the football back immediately. All I have to do is take 2 knees and the game's over. That's the logic he was using, and it was good logic. I didn't have a problem with it. Mike Mayock kind of made it seem like he was doing the incorrect thing by not taking the points. No, all you're doing is prolonging the game by taking the points. It's not necessary. I don't care if I win by 4, 7, or 9. I just want to win a football game. And if this will get me quicker to point B, I'm at point A now. I just want to get to point B as fast as I can. And if me just taking the football right where it is and taking 2 knees gets me to point B faster than taking 2 points, having to go through a free kick and do all this and do all of that, then I'll just go with the knees. And that's what Jim Harbaugh did, and I thought that was a smart move. It made it easy on all of us. We all got to go to bed a lot earlier. We didn't have to stick around for an extra 10, 15-minute game. If it's over now, let it be over now. And that's what he did. Also want to make mention of one thing. The punter, Andy Lee, in this game, that was a critical punt. The reason why the Seahawks were backed up on their own 3-yard line, because Andy Lee, when the San Francisco 49ers needed the best, and he's the best punter in the NFC, when they needed a critical, crucial punt out of Andy Lee, what does he do? Deliver a 65-yard booming kick that lands the Seahawks inside their own 10-yard line. They proceed to get a penalty, backs them all the way up to their own 3, and that's where they ended up getting the safety and had to turn it over on downs. So kudos to Andy Lee for coming up with a tremendous punt when his team needed it the most. And that's what this 49ers team does. That's why they're a good football team, because they're good at every aspect of the game. Special teams, defense, offense. On special teams, Ted Ginn was phenomenal in this football game. He did a great job of flipping field position, getting the San Francisco 49ers good field position, especially at a time when they were dead on offense. They weren't doing anything. He was able to get them a good return, get them a good starting field position, and it jump-started them on their first drive that scored or netted them points on a field goal. So Ted Ginn, Andy Lee did a great job on special teams. The defense only allowed 6 points in this game, was smothering, was suffocating, as they always are for the most part, holding the Seattle Seahawks to 6 points. What can you do? Right there, you've won 2 out of the 3, aspects of the game. Not to mention, you scored 13. They only scored 6. So you won the offense as well. So you win all 3 facets of the game. You're going to win. And that's what the San Francisco 49ers did. And that's why they won the football game. So that puts a bow on that. The 49ers get the win at home, as we all suspected. And that's a good start for me on this week. I got off on the left foot, which is good. Not the right foot, which was the wrong foot a week ago. So the 49ers go to 5-2. Seattle Seahawks dropped to 4-3, and now the San Francisco 49ers are in first place for the meantime by themselves. The Arizona Cardinals have a chance to tie them atop that division at 5-2 with the win over the Vikings on Sunday. But nonetheless, if albeit for only maybe a day or two, the 49ers are in first place again in the NFC West by themselves, sole possession of first place. So we move on to the Sunday slate of games. We spent a lot of time on that game, but it was a game that I thought was worth talking about for about 10, 15 minutes. It's a really good football game. So we move on to the Sunday slate of games. Let's go up and down the list, go through each one of these games. I'm going to give you some analysis of what I think is going to occur. Then I'm going to tell you who I think is going to win. We're going to document that. And then the lab is going to see how they do over the weekend. So, without any further ado, let's get into these Sunday slate of games. And the first one up on the docket finds us in Carolina, where the Carolina Panthers will be hosting the Dallas Cowboys. The Panthers are coming off of a bye in a tough loss to the Atlanta Falcons in their last game that they played, one that they probably should have won. Did not win because of a Cam Newton fumble. And so they're hungry. They're hungry for a win. This was a team that had Super Bowl aspirations coming into the season. And right now, they have a 1-4 record to show for those Super Bowl aspirations. So they really need to start turning it up. That bye couldn't have came at a better time for them. They need to start winning football games, and they need to start winning them now. Enter the Dallas Cowboys, who come into town off of a hard loss of their own, very tough luck loss, had an opportunity to beat the Baltimore Ravens, probably should have beat the Baltimore Ravens. Did everything that it took to win that football game except win the football game. Missed a late field goal, and Dan Bailey just hooked it left, and they missed the field goal that could have won them the game. But again, they had opportunities in that football game. Des Bryant drops a 2-point conversion. They ran the football up and down the field on the Baltimore Ravens. They controlled the game they should have won, but they didn't make enough plays to win. So now they're staring at 2-3 in the mirror, and now they need a win just to get back to 500, just to make themselves a relevant player in the NFC East. So they need this one. And luckily enough for the Dallas Cowboys, they're playing against the Panthers team that they usually don't have any trouble disposing of. I think the Dallas Cowboys are about 7 or 8-0 against these Carolina Panthers. They don't lose to the Panthers. No matter if it's in Bank of America Stadium or if they're home at Cowboys Stadium. They don't lose to the Panthers. They love playing the Carolina Panthers. Tony Romo loves playing the Carolina Panthers. He's had some of his best days as a quarterback against the Carolina Panthers. And so I see that trend continuing because I don't trust the Panthers. I don't trust what they stand for on the defensive end. I think they give up way too many yardage on defense. And not only do they give up yardage, attached with those yards are points. You get in the red zone against this team, you can get in the end zone against this team. So I don't really feel like they're going to come out off of this bye and make it count. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for the Cowboys. They've had an extra week of rest. Guys who needed to get healthy, like a Jonathan Stewart, who's always battling injuries. He was able to get healthy. He'll be back and looking to make an impact on the field without any lingering effects from his injuries that he's been dealing with all season long. D'Angelo Williams will be out there, so you'll have your whole stable of backs, plus Cam Newton. Steve Smith had been dealing with nagging injuries. He got an extra week of rest. He'll be ready to go, refreshed and ready to try to make that secondary of the Cowboys pay. But I just don't know if this Panthers team mentally is where they need to be. Maybe that bye week will provide them with a little bit of the mental balance that they need. Because right now I just feel like mentally, your leader who lit it up last year, who is supposed to be your leader at least, Cam Newton, is really struggling mentally. And it's affecting his play on the field physically. So I want to see what the Panthers are going to do. I don't trust them. And teams that I don't trust, I don't give you wins. You have to earn them. You have to prove me wrong. You have to make me a believer. Make a liar out of me. I don't mind. Because I don't like the Cowboys. Make a liar out of me. But I don't think you will be able to. The Cowboys are a very solid football team. One that I don't think is going to make the playoffs. But I think they're going to challenge for a playoff spot. They're going to be 8-8, 7-9, or 9-7. Somewhere in that range is where they're going to fall. And this is going to be one of their wins. I think they're going to go into Carolina and take care of business. Tony Romo is going to be able to establish the passing game against this Carolina defense that's very suspect. They're going to be missing probably their best running back in DeMarco Murray. And I don't know if it's going to really make a big difference because if the running game is not working, I think they don't have a problem in this football game turning to Tony Romo and saying, hey, throw it 34 times, get us 3 touchdowns, and we'll move on with the W. I don't think they have a problem doing that because the Panthers' defense, to me, doesn't pose the problem that says you have to run the football and you can't throw it. I think you can run or throw on these guys, and you can especially throw the football on this Panthers defense. See the Cowboys getting it done 24-17 in this ball game, taking their record to 3-3 on the season, evening them out at 3-3. Meanwhile, the Carolina Panthers will drop to a morbid 1-5 on the season, and they couldn't have foreseen a season like this coming. But a lot of us did. I know I did. I thought that Cam Newton would go through somewhat of a sophomore slump. Everything came too easy to him last year. I think he thought it was going to be that way this year. Not the case. And anytime you start talking about Super Bowls and you haven't even made it to a playoffs, you're delusional. And you must be brought back to earth. And that's what's happening to the Panthers right now. They needed to be grounded. They needed to be leveled. And that's what they're doing. That's what's happening to them right now. They're being brought back to earth. Their feet are being put on the ground, and they're realizing, hey, last year was sort of an anomaly. We want to get back to last year. We're going to have to work 2 times as hard to get back to where we were last year and exceed what we did last year. Because they were only a 6-win team a year ago. For all the things they did on offense, their defense was that much worse. And so they lost 10 games. But if they want to be better than they were last year, the defense is going to have to play better. The offense is going to have to play better because teams are adjusting to Cam Newton. So they're going to have to be better. They're going to have to be more potent on offense. And right now I'm not seeing that. Cowboys 24, Panthers 17. Next up on the docket sees a rematch of the AFC divisional round of the playoffs last year. The Houston Texans this time are at home. They're taking on the Baltimore Ravens, who knocked them out of the playoffs a year ago. So again, last week we had a similar matchup in the NFC. That one was the championship matchup from a year ago. This one is the divisional matchup from the AFC a year ago. And so you're thinking the team that's home, which was the team that lost in the playoffs last year, they're out for revenge. Last week we found out revenge is a dish best served cold. And the 49ers were heat up last week. The Giants lit them up and melted whatever cold revenge they had planned. So the Texans, they're looking to not fall prey to the same thing that happened to the 49ers a week ago, where they were throttled at home by the Giants. So now the Texans see this Ravens team coming in. Both of these teams are 5-1 on the season. They come into this game having lost their first game of the season against the Green Bay Packers at home on national television, really being embarrassed. They gave up 42 points and 6 touchdowns to Aaron Rodgers, who was flawless in his performance against this Texans defense. And so they're looking to rebound from a poor showing. They had a chance to really alert the whole league and the viewers around the nation that, look, we're a team to be reckoned with. We're serious. We're 5-0 for a reason. You haven't seen a lot of us, but we're here to show you that we're really the real deal. Well, they didn't do that. So now they have another opportunity to make a statement. 2 5-1 teams, Ravens, not playing the best of football, but they're getting it done. They're 5-1, just as the Texans are. And so they have a chance to show what they can do against a good football team. Now, this game is strange because the Ravens are in uncharted territory. Now, last year they played a few games without Ray Lewis, but never have they faced the task of having to go a whole season, possibly, without their unquestioned leader on the football field and off it, Ray Lewis. He's probably going to be gone for the remainder of the season. There's been talk of him possibly coming back. They put him on the PUP list that allows him to return. They're holding out hope that maybe they make it to the playoffs and he's able to come back. I don't know. We'll see. You tear your tricep, though, it's very hard to come back in one season from that. Lardarius Webb, a lot of people aren't talking about his injury because Ray Lewis got hurt, and that's overshadowing what I think is the even more bigger injury. Lardarius Webb, their shutdown cover corner. We won't call him shutdown. I don't like to throw that term around loosely. Their great cover corner, Lardarius Webb, is gone for the season with a torn ACL. So now their young fella, Jimmy Smith, has to step in. And this is what they drafted him for. Now he has to step up and pay dividends. They're looking for big things from Jimmy Smith. Now it's time for him to pay up. So we're going to see what this Ravens defense is all about, because the one thing that they've been poor at doing this year, which is stopping the run, is the strength of the Houston Texans. The one thing you don't want to come into the game with against the Texans is a shaky run defense, is a suspect run defense. You do that, and you're going to be in for a long game, because they have one heck of a two-headed monster with Arian Foster and Ben Tate. And we know Arian Foster is one of the best backs in all of football. The Texans run the football. That's what they do. They run it on first down. They run it on second down. If you're not careful, they'll run it on third down. They run it when they're playing. They run it in the bye week. They run it when they're asleep. That's what the Texans do. They run the football. And the Ravens, for the last 2 weeks, have given up over 200 yards on the ground. So what that says to me is you can't stop teams from running the football. So you know what that equates to in this football game? A loss if you're the Ravens. The Texans are home. They're hungry. They're very disappointed in their play a week ago. And you come to town with some shoddy run defense. Bad run defense plus great run offense equals Texans win 26-20 at home against the Baltimore Ravens, taking their record to 6-1, dropping the Ravens to 5-2 on the season.